To this week's Forex forecast with one man. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on post notification. So over here, what we do is very simple. What we do is look at just two concepts, that is quote report, that is the commitment of traders, and pure market structure. And this week we are looking at GBPJPY, GBPAUD, GBPCAD. We are looking at basically the pound crosses, right? So taking GBPAUD, technically we could see that this pair has been in an uptrend. And since the trend is our friend, what do? We also look for buying opportunities. It has been going up until the price has reached a key level of resistance just right here. And immediately price got to this key previous level of resistance, the price has been consolidating just right here. We try to break through, but the sellers quickly came or pushed the price down into that range, and it has been consolidating over here for so many weeks, and finally we are beginning to see some selling pressure come in the market. But since what we do is to look at two concepts, which is the COT data and technical, we check if the technical conforms to the COT data. So on the COT data, what can we see? COT data simply is a data that shows what the big institutions are doing. The banks, the big traders, what they are doing. So on the British pound, which we are looking at the pound crosses. So on the pound, we could see overall the net position for the pound is still positive. So which means that overall the pound is strong, and when the pound is strong, any pound crosses is going to be buying. That is basically what we do. So since the pound has a net position which is being positive, it means that we should be buying any pound pair. But when we look at the net change, it is negative 28,000. The difference between the net change and the net position is the net position shows the overall trend, whilst the net change shows the immediate trend. So since we are not long-term traders, we are immediate traders. We are looking to trade within a week to get our profit. Then we are going to take into consideration the immediate trend. So when we want to look at a pair like GBPAUD, then we go to the data, then we look at the Australian dollar. So we could see that at the Australian dollar, it has a net position of negative 81,000, which tells us that overall the Australian dollar is weak against the pound. But when we look at the net change, it is 6,000, negative 6,000, which tells us that immediately, or the immediate trend is telling us GBPAUD is selling. Hence, when we go to the technical, all we need to do is to find a resistance where we can also sell. So technically, we are in a very nice bullish trend. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. We created a higher high, and technical says that after a higher high we should come for a higher low. So we are on the leg of a higher low, and after the higher low is confirmed, we can look for the continuation for a new higher high. But we want to trade with the current data, which says that GBPAUD is selling. And when we come to the technical, we could see that yes, actually GBPAUD is selling. So what we need to do is to go to a lower time frame, which is the daily. Now, on the daily time frame, we could see everything is in line. After all this bullish move that we were having, the pound got to a key level of resistance, and then it tried to break this level all the way up, only for it to get rejected back into the range. And after that, the pound, the GBPAUD has been consolidating just right here for for so many weeks now, right? Now, what we can say is that since we are looking for sells temporarily before the long-term buys, then we need to read the market structure. Now, what we can see is that what market structure is telling us that after price created this high, we came for this low, another high, lower high, then we went for a lower low, sorry, lower high. Now we are on the last leg for what? The last sell before we create another what? Lower high again. So when we take it to our entry time frame, which is the 4 hour, technically we could read the price action, which is high, low, high, low. We came here, which is another high, and we are on this leg forward, a low, right? And we've seen the data telling us that what temporarily GBPAUD is selling. Hence, we should also look for what selling opportunities on the 4 hour, right? But over here, do we just jump because the data says we should sell? No, do we just jump and place our sell and expect it to go down? No. Why? Because on the 4 hour, price is already at a key level of what? Support, which means that price technically can what? Buy easily from here. So if we know the data and the data is telling us to sell, then all we need to do now is to look for a resistance level and not a support level. And price is at the support level, so we cannot just jump into a sell. So what we have to do is simple. Since we already know that what we have a high, low, high, low, high, we are expecting this low to complete all the way to what this previous level of resistance, or sorry, this previous level of what support that we have just right here. So technically we know that price will complete this leg before we see any level of what buying coming in the market again. So market structure purely clean and easy to understand. So now, how do we take the trade? What is the plan? What is the trap? How do we now set the trap? Knowing this in mind, what we have to do is to look forward the immediate resistance, and the immediate resistance following the 4 hour trend is over at 2.06, which means that due to this 4 hour buy zone, price can easily buy back to this level, and from this level we will set our trap at 2.06 and expect the price to drop all the way to 2.02, putting our stop loss just right above the swing of this leg. So what is the plan? Price should see, when from Monday, price should see some buying pressure before we sell all the way down. But do we just sell because we want to sell? No, we have to see a candlestick confirmation, which is we just want to see after price move, we want to see a selling pressure or a selling candle, just something like this. Then we can easily, confidently open our sell position, stop loss being above the structure, and TP at what 2.03, giving us what 1:2. So GBPAUD this week, very simple, clean price action, clean structure that is conforming to our quote report. Another way we can take this trade is if price is not able to push all the way back before selling, then we are already at a support. So we can't just jump into a sell, because if we do that, then our stop loss needs to be above what this swing high, and our TP is just going to be here, which is not even up to what 1:1. So the sell is not worth the risk. So another way we could also take this trade, or if we still want to take this trade, is if we see a full 4-hour candle close below this 4-hour zone, then we can go to either the 15-minute or 5-minute to look for a 15-minute retest of this zone, then we can sell. So on the 15-minute, we will see a selling pressure from here. That means that our stop loss is not going to be above here. It is going to be on the 15-minute structure, which is going to be somewhere within this zone, and then we can sell down here. But since we don't stress ourselves on the 15-minute time frame, we stick to what only in the 4-hour time frame. Hence, when price just breaks this level, we are not going to be interested in selling, because our risk to reward trying to sell at this point will not what make sense. So we will wait and see the 4-hour buying back. When the 4-hour buys back, then we will come in and sell from this level. So GBPAUD this week, this is the complete technical analysis that we have on GBPAUD. So another way is on the 15 minutes, if you see a buying pressure from this zone, this 4-hour zone, you can capitalize on the buy before the sell. But since I don't stress myself on the lower time frame, I am going to wait to see if this will happen. And if this happens, then I see confirmation and I'll sell. So quickly, so that is the complete technical analysis on GBP AUD. This week we are expecting sells, and we want price to push back to 2.06, and then we will sell from that zone to 2.03. Let's quickly move to the next one, which is GBPNZD. Now, one thing about GBPNZD is it moves just like the way the GBPAUD moves. So on the coach report, we could see that what the New Zealand dollar is also negative 6,000, whilst the pound is what negative 28. So the same concept, repeatedly the same concept. From the data, we know that what temporarily the pound is weak, and then the New Zealand is a bit strong comparing the two of them. Hence, sells temporarily is favorable. So when we go to GBP AUD, so when we go to GBP NZD, looking at the pair from the weekly perspective, we could see that well, we have been bullish for a very long time. Beautiful uptrend, high creating perfect uptrend until the price reaches what a key level of what resistance, and then we began, or the sellers begin to what sell. But looking at structure, we have what a key level of what high. So we have high, low, high, low, and then we went for a high, and currently on the leg of a low, which tells me that technically we can have what after the low should come what a high. So clean, 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 The data is telling us we should look for temporal sales. So we have to go to the chart and see how we can look at what the temporal sales. So on the daily, all we could see is that what price is already selling, or price has been selling, and we are almost at a key level of what support. So which means that since the data is telling us to sell, but technical is telling us that we are already late because price is already at the key, price is already approaching a key level of support. So when I check the difference between where the price is currently to the trend line, that is almost about 200 pips. So we can see, we can try and capitalize on that move. But how are we going to capitalize on that move? We go to our entry confirmation, our entry timetable, our entry time, sorry, which is the 4 hour. Now on the 4 hour, all that we could say is that what we are already what late, because we should have been in a sell all the way from the up here. Now price has already moved and we are almost at a key level of what support. So with this pair, we cannot sell any longer, even though the data is telling us that what we should sell. Why? Because the price is already at a key level of what structural support. This is not just a normal support. This is what a structural support, which is also in line with what a key bullish trend line. So we cannot jump into a sell here and then expecting price to what come. Why? Because if we do that, then our risk to reward over here is just 1:1, which is not worth the risk. So what we have to do is to allow this one, the sales, to play out. So within the week, we just see price trying to drop and eventually it will drop. And if we see a buying opportunities from this zone, then we open a buy and wait to see what the next week data will say. So if I see a buying, so my trap is if I'm able to see a buying opportunity from this zone, then I will buy, expecting price to go back into this previous high. Why? Because overall the pound is still bullish, or GBPAUD is still what bullish, but temporarily it is selling. But we've already missed the temporal move, so we can only allow it to finish. Then we will come in for the new buy all the way to the upside. So GBPNZD this week, this is the trap, the um this is the trade idea, to wait for the sales to complete, then we can look for the buys. The next pair is GBP CAD. Now on GBP CAD, what can we see on GBP CAD? The data tells us that what now look at something over here. The data tells us that what CAD is what extremely strong, because CAD temporarily is what positive 3,000, whilst the pound is negative 28,000. But overall, the pound is 57, while 570, while the Canadian dollar is negative 70,000, which tells me that overall GBP CAD is still bullish, but temporarily we are in a selling momentum, which tells me that what when I go to the chart, I should look for selling opportunities temporarily. So GBP CAD, looking at uh, the weekly, we could see a very clean, taking it from the monthly. Technically, we could see that what we have been in a very bullish momentum for a while now, while price was creating beautiful uptrend, right? Until we are reaching a key level of what resistance, which we've not really reached yet, right? So for this pair, I know the data is telling us what the pound is overall weak. Sorry, the CAD is overall weak, which means that we are still going to see buying opportunities to the upside. But temporarily, we should look for sales. So how do we get the sales temporarily? On the weekly, we could see that the pound GBP has been moving in this beautiful channel, all the way to the upside. So in the channel, what we could see is that on the weekly, we created this. There was a level that has been broken. Price moved all the way, came for a retest, push, came back, push, and then we also dropping. Why? Because temporarily the AUD is strong. So according to this, going on a daily, we expect that price should drop back to this key level of support, then we buy from here. So since the data is telling us that temporarily we should look for sells, then we can try to see if there is any possibility or any level of resistance within our entry time frame, which is the 4 hour. Then we look for the sells. Now we could see that over here, what can we see? After price moved to this level, it began to give us a downtrend where we are having a high, low, high. We came for this low, then we created this pattern, which is a selling pattern. Then what happened? From this zone, price dropped again, and then now we are just in a range. Now, this range tells me that there is still a possibility from the data, which is telling us the card is strong temporarily. This data, the data simply gives me the go ahead that there is a possibility that our GBP card can sell all the way back to our key level of support, which I have already set my buying trap down. But temporarily, you can easily get the sales by waiting for this level to break. So GBP card, sorry, when I see price push a little bit back to this high of the range, I can open my sales and expect price to drop down. So it is very simple. GBP card this week sells open at the touch of the trend line, another touch of this trend line, which is around 1.8470 TP all the way back to 1.800, and stop loss above the swing structure, which will give us 2.8. Let's quickly move to the next one, which is GBP Swiss francs. Now GBP Swiss francs is the same concept. We're looking at the data. The data also tells us that what is the data telling us? It is telling us the Swiss francs has a net negative positions, which means that overall we should be seeing buys. But since we are looking at temporal net change, then we should be seeing sells. When you go to the technical, then what can we see? Price on the weekly, we are in a key level of support, where price moved up, moved up, moved up. So there's a possibility that we can still have some buying pressure coming in from here before further going down. So when we are currently at a key level of support, and on the daily, all we can see is that this level has acted as a support that push price up. But the data is telling us that we should sell and not buy temporarily. But long-term wise, it is supposed to be buying. So when we go to our entry time frame, we are supposed to look for a resistance and sell at a resistance. But currently, price has been moving beautifully on the 4 hour, and then we are at a key level of support. So since we are already at a key level of support, then there is no need opening sells. Why? Because technically buyers can come in the market to push the price up. Why? Because this is a buying zone, a 4-hour support. So the trap for this pair is to see a clear, bullish confirmation for me to buy GBP Swiss francs, even though the data is telling us that what we should sell. Now, for me to do that, I need to see a clean break of what this 4-hour change of this 4-hour selling pressure that is coming in the market. How am I going to see that? All I need to do is to wait to see if price can break this trend line, give me another low. From this low, then we expect what a high. So GBP Swiss franc, I'm expecting buying opportunities this week, but for this pair, I need to be extremely careful because we are trading against the data, because the data says we should sell, but technical is saying we should buy. The data says what we should sell, but technical is saying we should buy. So it is not in line. But for me to follow technical, then I need to see what price breaking key trend line, giving me another low, then structure, the 4-hour structure, which is selling, should change to what a bullish momentum. Then I can what try and open a buy position. So this week GBP Swiss francs, simple. We move to the next one. This is GBPJPY. The same concept we could see clearly from the technical perspective that what GBP Swiss francs, GBPJPY, sorry, is at a key level of what supply. But since we are in a bullish momentum, and what is the data saying? The data is also saying that what this week the pound is negative 28,000 and the JPY is positive 3,000, which tells me that what I should look for sells on GBP JPY. So when I go to the chart, I have to see if the price is at what a key level of what resistance. And over here we could see that what price is actually at a key level of resistance even on the weekly level. So when I go to the daily, I could see that what we have a key level of resistance on what the GBP JPY. But for me to sell, since we are already in a bullish move, then all I need to see is what a break, or go on my entry time frame to see if I can get what that selling, that's the sells to sell. On a 4-hour, we could see technical is telling us that what we are buying. So for me to sell, then I need to see clean selling what opportunities, because currently price had made an impulse correction impulse, and we all know this is what a falling wedge pattern. A falling wedge pattern is a continuation what pattern. So the technical is not in line with what the data is telling us. Hence, what we have to do is that for us to actually sell as the data is saying, then we have to see further break of this trend line. When we see the data breaking this trend line, then we can try and open our sell from here, and then our stop loss is going to be above 200, maybe somewhere around. So technical wise, stop loss should be around 200.200, whilst our, so when we see a clean sell candle, that breaks this trend line, we can open our sell stop loss above 200.300. Then we expect what? Now we know a concept in technicals that says that what when there is a trend line that is broken, or when we break a trend line, target is what low of the trend line. Hence, a pair like this, if